This video contains some more difficult and often trickier problems that involve distributing and simplifying by combining like terms. If you look at this first example, we can see that we need to distribute this -2, and this is the first thing that I wanted to point out. This is the first area where people often get tricked when trying these problems, is that the sign in front of the number has to stay with that number. This isn't a 2 being distributed, this is a -2 being distributed. So when you are distributing this, you have to think of -2 times each of the terms inside. -2 times a positive 4a would give me a -8a. But a -2 times a -b, and if you remember, if there is no number, then it's 1. It's a horrible 1, but that's a 1. So a -2 times a -1b actually gives me a positive 2b. And if you notice, I started with the distributive property first, and you start and stop with the parentheses. I've ignored everything else in this problem. This 9a and this positive 6a I've ignored for now. But now you can carry those down to the next line so that you don't forget about them. And it's important to do this one step at a time and to show your work so you don't lose variables, which can happen. So I've copied those two terms down on the next line so that everything's in this nice neat line right here. Well, then I can try to combine any like terms. And if you recall, like terms have the same variable and the same exponent. Well, none of these have exponents, so I don't have to worry about that just yet. So is there anything else that goes with this 9a, which is a positive 9a? And yes, this -8a also has the same letter and exponent, and so does this positive 6a. So we can combine all three of those terms, positive 9a minus 8a. Think of it as you have 9 apples, and you're going to take away 8 apples. From these two, you have 1 apple. But then when I add on this 6 apples, I have 7 apples altogether. 9 minus 8 is 1, plus 6 is 7. And last, I can add on this 2b, but I cannot combine it with this because this would be like saying 7 apples plus 2 bananas would give me 9 apple bananas. This is something that a lot of people try to do. You cannot combine those. Those two do not go together because they're not like terms. So this is our final answer right here, 7a plus 2b. Let's try another example. In this problem, we again have a distributive property that we need to work with, but it's kind of tricky because there's no number out in front of these parentheses. Just like with letters, if there's no number out in front, you have to kind of insert a 1. You cannot forget to distribute this because the problem won't be the same. So imagine that there's a little 1 right here, and you can distribute this -1 just like we distributed this -2 up here. So we're going to do -1 times each term inside. -1 times a positive 4 gives me a -4x. And this -1 times -3, don't forget the sign in front of the number is that number's sign. -1 times -3 actually gives me a positive 3y. And like we did in the previous problem, we can just carry down the rest of the problem. And now we look for like terms. Is there anything else that goes with this 7x? Remember, it's a positive 7x. Yep, this -4x and this -5x. So when we combine all three of those, positive 7x's minus 4x's gives me 3x's. And then when I take away 5 more x's, I'm at -2x. Likewise with the y's, I have this positive 3y and a positive 8y. And when you put them together, you get a positive 11y. And our final answer is -2x plus 11y.